everyone, and welcome to Phillies Extra from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'm your host, Scott Lauber, and I write about the Phillies and Major League Baseball for the Inquirer and Inquirer.com. This is our baseball interview show, and as always, it's available to watch on Inquirer Live, YouTube, and Facebook. Or if you're on the go over 4th of July weekend, let's say you're down the shore or in the car, you can take us with you and listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But no matter where you are or how you found us, I hope your summer is off to a terrific start and want to thank you for spending some of it right here with us. My guest this week is none other than Phillies rookie Otto Kemp. I'm very excited to have him here because it's coming up on 1 month now since he made his Major League debut. He started all but one game during the 21-game stretch that Bryce Harper was out with an inflamed right wrist, and he played well enough that the Phillies kept him on the roster even after Harper returned. Kemp also recently hit his first Major League home run, a 3-run shot on June 27th in Atlanta. I was standing outside the clubhouse when Kemp autographed a bat for a couple of fans in exchange for the home run ball. It was a really cool interaction, and you could tell how much it meant to Otto to get that ball back for his personal collection. Now, if you're into top prospects, you wouldn't have found Kemp on any of the Phillies' top 10 lists before this season. That's because he took a most unlikely path to the majors. For one thing, he went to Point Loma Nazarene University, a small liberal arts college in San Diego with about 4,500 students and a Division II baseball program. And he didn't get drafted either. How unusual is it for a draft-eligible player, in other words, any player who's a resident of the United States or Canada, to go undrafted and still make it to the big leagues? Well, based on my research, which goes back 40 years to 1985, I found a total of 15 undrafted position players who've played for the Phillies. Here's the list: Chris James, Greg Jelks, Keith Hughes, Dickie Thon, Tommy Herr, Joe Maletti, Jeff Grotewald, Rob Butler, Rob Ducey, Ramon Martinez, Chris Coast, Rod Barajas, Matt Stairs, Daniel Nava, and now Otto Kemp. And of those, only five, James, Jelks, Hughes, Grotewald, and now Kemp, were originally signed by the Phillies. Here's how unlikely it once seemed even to Kemp that he would play pro ball, let alone make it to the majors. In the fall of his senior year of college, while he was recovering from a broken hamate bone in his hand, he got a 4-month internship at a wealth management firm in San Diego, seemingly intent on putting his finance degree to good use. But the Phillies signed him after the draft in 2022, and off he went on his journey through the minor leagues. When Kemp got called up and joined the Phillies on June 7th in Pittsburgh, I asked him when the dream of someday playing in the majors began coming into focus. Here was what he said, quote, "I think last year a little bit in Double-A. When I started to have a little bit of success there, it was like, all right, kind of just the belief in myself started to creep up. I think coming from Division II, there were a lot of hurdles with that, just the level of play. I didn't know what D1 level of play was, but you always have that stigma. There's a reason why there's a lot more Division I ball players taken. So I think there was a little bit of a mental hurdle that I had to get past, and I'm still working through. But I'm better at controlling it and kind of just channeling it in a certain way. But yeah, it certainly started to get kind of real a little bit last year and over the Arizona Fall League when it was like really clicking, and it's like, all right, I can do this. Just got to keep going." So, yeah, I'd say that Kemp is one of the best Phillies stories of the year so far. We're going to get into all of that and more, and if you stick with me after our conversation, I'll have a few thoughts on the Phillies as they prepare for the final push before the All-Star break. I'll take a listener question at the end as well. And so let's get right to it. Here's my sit-down with Otto Kemp. Otto Kemp, welcome to Phillies Extra from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thanks so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with some congratulations on what I'm guessing is safe to say has been a life-changing month for you since you got that knock on your hotel room door in Charlotte after a game on the night of June 6th. Can you kind of put into words just what the last few weeks have felt like? Is it a whirlwind? Have your feet hit the ground?
Yeah,
What's kind of been going through your head as the days and weeks have gone by here?
yeah. The first couple weeks were definitely a whirlwind. We got the knock on our door at like 11:30. Um, just played a game, and Phillies were playing at 4 o'clock the next day, and we were a couple states over. So I was like, all right, well, we're gonna have to figure out how to get there. And we're not really sure what comes after that, but we know that we'll be there for a couple days. So eventually made it to Pittsburgh. I feel like the dust started to settle after our first home stand at home. We were able to get into Philly and see just experience the ballpark, kind of get to know where everything was, get to see the stadium for the first time, and spend a couple days there. Um, so it definitely took about 2 weeks for the dust to settle a little bit. And even then, it's a little bit different getting used to this schedule. So, me and my wife, we're figuring it out as we go. It's just you kind of take it one stand at a time, one away series or one home stand at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been, they could have been on the West Coast or something like that. You had to get from Charlotte to Pittsburgh, and I know you had your dog with you, and your wife
Hmm.
came, and you got your parents and your brother out from California. I mean,
Hmm.
it's just got to be a flurry of phone calls, right? At that point, like,
Yeah,
hey, here's what it is, and let's figure it out if we can, and see if we can make it happen.
yeah, I think we're on the phone till like 2:30. I told them, I was like, hey, here's what's gonna happen. I got a lot of people to call, so I need you guys to, if you guys want to come, by all means. But I can't really help with that. I got to figure out my own stuff. So they were on a plane 2 hours later because that was the only plane that they could take. They took a red eye, so
Yeah.
they eventually made it out, which was awesome.
Okay, so
But
let's
yeah.
recap. Major League debut on June 7th in Pittsburgh. First Major League hit on June 9th at home against the
Hmm.
Cubs, Matthew Boyd. First
Hmm.
extra base hit, double down the right field line, June 13th against Kevin Gausman of the Blue Jays. Started at third base, first base, left field, and then June 27th in Atlanta, first Major League home run, 3-run shot, 404 feet to left center against Bryce Elder of the Braves. As you think back on it, has there been kind of like a welcome to the big leagues moment for you, like where it sort of hits you? I don't know whether maybe second game facing Paul Skeens or just kind of like okay, I'm here and this is what this is all about.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, day two facing Skeens, one of the better pitchers in the league. I think that was like a moment where it was like welcome to the big leagues, but also it was like I feel like I can do this at the same time. So it was a cool moment just because it's like you finally get to face somebody that everybody talks about, all the media is talking about. There's so much buzz. So it's cool to like see what your plan and your approach plans up stacks up against a guy like that. So that was a cool moment. That was kind of like a this is it. This is the real deal, you know?
How many mementos now are you collecting along the way? So I was down there the other night in Atlanta. I was waiting outside the clubhouse, and you came out and you exchanged a signed bat for the ball, the home run ball. Are you getting, did you get the lineup card from game one? What sort of things are you kind of collecting to kind of mark
Yeah.
this month?
Yeah, I think for the debut it'll be the lineup cards, the official lineup cards, the jersey. And then I think one of the first ball that was the first pitch that was used that day. I might put the first hit in that category in that stash as well. And then I'll keep the first home run. Um, And other than that, I think that's it. But I think we'll continue to collect as we go. I'm playing baseball with a lot of future Hall of Famers and very well renowned players right now. So guys that have just had crazy successful careers. So for me, collecting some of that stuff is gonna be important for me too, just to remember the first team that I was on.
Yeah, no
So
doubt. No doubt. So you were hitting 313 and you had 14 homers and your OPS was over 1,000 in AAA. But I'm curious. I mean, and I've been meaning to ask you, like we've seen a lot of guys come up from AAA this year around baseball, whether it's, the three Red Sox prospects that everyone talked about, Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer and Christian Campbell. I know you played against them just earlier this season. Jack Caglianone with the Royals. And a lot of guys have come up and really struggled in the big leagues. And I was talking to someone the other day and they said, there's not there's really no comparison between pitching in AAA and the big leagues. I'm curious, you've held your own so far. What have you noticed, or what have you seen as kind of like is there a real difference, a substantial difference? What's the real eye opener between what you face in AAA and what you face when you get up here?
I would just say it takes a second to calibrate to the velocity up here, I think. I think in the international league, at least, most of the guys that you're facing as starters are 90, 94. You'll get a couple guys out of the pen that are 6 to 8, but um, here it's like a religiously everybody is 95 plus. So even your starters are 95 to 99, 95 to 100. So it takes a second to calibrate to that. I think that was the biggest thing for me is you're trying to when you get up to the big leagues, you everybody's telling you to slow down as much as you can because the game's going to speed you up. But then you feel like when you're facing guys that are throwing 100, you're like, I got to speed up. So I got to try a little bit harder. So it just takes a little bit to find the calibration. It's stuff that you've seen every day. You see the stuff that's nothing is really different. It's just a little bit quicker. So I would say it's just kind of learning how to calibrate to that really. And it does take a little bit. Like for me, as I've gone up through the levels, it has taken me a little bit. Like when I get to a new place, it takes me a second to kind of get my feet under me, get comfortable. Um, but that I would say it's just a tick quicker. That's really all that I feel. I don't feel like the stuff is any different. The ball's not moving more, but it's just a little bit faster. So and a
Yeah, I
little bit
mean,
more of a crisp game.
yeah, I was thinking about the list of guys you faced just so far, and we talked about Skeens, and you go to Houston and you get Framber Valdez from the left side and Hunter Brown from the right, and you've had
Hmm.
both Spencers now in Atlanta, Strider and Schwellenbach, and
Yeah.
Josh Hader the other night in Houston, and so I was going to ask that, like, in addition to the velocity, like, are they spotting? Are they hitting their spots a little bit more? Are they more precise? Is it sort of,
Yeah.
you know, can you maybe not take a pitch in a spot where you would otherwise, or maybe you need to take an extra pitch? You
Yeah.
know, yeah,
I would say one to that, like there's no breaks here. There's no like this guy's throwing 89 to 92. There's no everybody's the top shelf. So you got to learn how to be able to show up every day and do that. So that's one aspect of it, I would say, but also two, these guys, I mean, they don't miss over the middle of the plate as often, I would say. And when they do, one, there's life behind it, but two, you got to take advantage of those mistakes when you get them because they don't come too often. So they're good at spotting up the edges, at least over the last couple of weeks they have been. So um, I would say that's you got to take advantage of the pitches over the middle of the plate here.
I don't know if you ever get tired of talking about your path, but it's obviously a huge part of your story. And I kind of gave the Cliff Notes version in the introduction of the show. But, when I think about it, so to me, it's not just, right, like playing in a Division II program or going undrafted. You also overcame a ton of injuries, right, from not playing as a senior in high school because you had a knee surgery. And I think you missed some time as a freshman with a blood clot in your shoulder and broke your hamate bone in your hand before your senior year. And you sit through 20 rounds of the draft. And I know I've heard you say it was like a stab to the heart to not get
Hmm.
drafted in the draft. But here's the part that I really wanted to ask you about. So I saw somewhere, like, in the fall of your senior year, you had a 4-month internship at Schusterman Wealth Management.
Okay.
And it certainly seems like that's something you do if maybe you're hedging, right? Like that maybe pro ball's not going to happen, or maybe it's not something you can count on. Was that the case? I mean, was that sort of, hey, look, you're a finance major and I need to sort of think about an alternative to pro ball if that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely the reality of it. Is nothing was guaranteed, and I didn't know that I was going to get an opportunity to play pro ball. But obviously, it was my dream. It was what I wanted to happen. But I knew that if that didn't happen, I needed to set myself up for something different. So that was probably the route that I was going to go down.
I think I asked you when you came up, like when the dream, right, kind of crystallized a little bit, and you said last
Hmm.
year, probably in AA, and then
Hmm.
you went to the fall league. And how important was the fall league for you to kind of say, all right, like I can stand toe to toe with some of the talent that's out here, and that
Yeah.
that this year is maybe a big year for me in that regard.
Yeah, I think it was super important for me, honestly, especially coming from Division Two. Uh, there's a lot of there's not a lot of we'll call it high profile prospects in Division Two where there's a lot of buzz. And so for me, the fall league was realizing that I can compete with anybody. And so that was a big turning point for me. I think double A kind of led into that. But that was where it was like, all right, we got some of the best up and coming guys in the fall league. And you're playing right alongside of them and you belong here. So that for me was like mentally coming to grips with the fact that like one, I can do it there, I can definitely do it in the big leagues. So that was like kind of the rumor on the street is once you if you can have success in the fall league, that's like a really close step to the big leagues. So for me, it just gave me confidence heading into this year, and about last year, just that we're on the right track and we're making really good progress, and I belong here, and that's something that I've really tried to work on is just feeling like I can belong wherever I am.
So, you mentioned playing at Point Loma Nazarene, the Division II school that you played at, and I've seen some
Hmm.
pictures of the ballpark there. Man, it's beautiful. And I got to ask you, how many balls did you put in the Pacific Ocean? I mean, because it's not just right field, like you're a right-handed hitter. You could probably, I mean, from the photos, it looks like it's right there in left field too for you to
Yeah,
hit.
it's crazy. It's pristine. It doesn't get much better than that, honestly. I'd still call it the best ballpark in America. It's pretty unbelievable. If you get the chance to go see it in San Diego, you definitely should. It's
Yeah.
like you walk up and it's just breathtaking. Like it doesn't feel like this should actually be a thing. So for spending 4 years there was not too bad. But luckily, I mean, no balls went into the Pacific Ocean. That would have been like a almost a mile long home run.
Okay.
Um, but but it does look like it's going into the ocean when you hit them over the fence. So there were a couple that were deposited over left field that looked like they were going into the ocean. Uh, so yeah, it's a super super cool backdrop.
Yeah, from the pictures, I was like, is that a McCovey Cove situation where you could reach
Yeah.
that, or because you can't really see how far it is
Yeah, it's
past
like
the.
bird's eye, probably a quarter mile
Okay.
from the from the outfield fence. It does drop off a cliff though, so right behind the fence there's a
Wow.
cliff that goes down to the water. So it's uh it's yeah, it's cool.
So, I mean, you mentioned San Diego, and you guys are going there
Hmm.
right before the All-Star break. What's going to be the size of the Otto Kemp brooding section at Petco Park? Are we talking, close friends and family? Are we talking like buddies from your internship? Are we talking about like all of Point Loma, 4,500 students who are going to come out and see you? What are we talking about there?
Uh, I think we're definitely at least looking at a couple hundred. Um, there will be a good amount. I think it's a very full circle moment where a lot of people are happy to come out and support and catch a game. So it sounds like there's going to be kind of people from all over. I grew up about 2 hours north of there,
Right.
so Anaheim would be the closest one for where I grew up. But this year, I think San Diego is the closest for where we play, and I got people from Little League, I got people from high school, I got people from college. So kind of all different destinations along the journey will be there. So it'll be a really fun day, fun weekend.
I'm curious whether you heard from some of those people within the last month or so. Not that getting called up to the big leagues at that point was a super surprise because that was your trajectory here now for a little while, and
Hmm.
I think people thought, okay, he's going to get a chance now, but like just that it actually happened, right? That like this guy who went undrafted and really had to kind of grind to get there. And I wonder whether you're hearing from people out of the woodwork who you went to school with, or you're sitting in class with, who you
Hmm.
worked at that management firm with, who just sort of like were around on campus,
Yeah.
or just generally speaking, if they've sort of been like, hey, I remember I was with Otto Kemp when.
Yeah. I think I have heard from a good amount of people throughout college, especially, and I would say that was like the main. One of my buddies actually sent me a video or a picture of the. I think Topps posted something about like from undrafted or Division II college to Division II undrafted to the big leagues, and one of my buddies sent it to me that I used to play with, and he was like, I remember sitting in the cage like sophomore year, and you were like, I really debating between going into finance or just going all in on baseball and just buying into it. Um, and he's like, I remember from that point on, you made that decision to buy in on yourself, and now look where you are. So that was a cool text to get. A couple of those where it was just like, man, I remember when you were thinking about this or thinking about going into this and weren't really sure what baseball was going to look like, but um, just super proud of how far you've come. And but again, it's a testament to just taking things one day at a time. You know you want something, so what can you do on that given day to go get that, and then rinse and repeat the next day. So for me, it was like a simple formula that just never stopped. So um, and same thing goes for now. It's a simple formula that doesn't stop now. So it was really cool to have the outreach of people from those phases of life.
That's that's awesome. Let me get you out of here on two quick ones. So,
Hmm.
with Bryce back now, Rob Thompson said a lot of your starts might come in left field, especially against
Hmm.
lefties, and you'll probably get a fair amount of at bats off the bench as well. You're a natural infielder, so I know you're out there every day working with Paco Figueroa. Tell me a little bit about what the biggest challenge has been in going out to left field, first in AAA and now here. And I wonder, if someone like Bryce, who kind of had the reverse experience, right, an outfielder who became an infielder, I wonder if a guy like that might have any advice or for how to make that adjustment.
For sure. I think the biggest adjustment is just going to be getting enough reads, ball off the bat. Same thing on the infield. Your first step is so important. What you commit to. So, same thing in the outfield. Learning where the ball starts, how hard the ball's hit, the sound of the ball, kind of all of it. Just trying to get better at the balls off the bat and making sure my first step is allowing me to create a good route to the ball. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing in left. Other than that, just go catch the ball. If you catch the ball, nobody's going to say anything to you. So um, I think that'll be the biggest thing, and I think it will help to have guys like that. There's a lot of guys who have a lot of experience in left, so nobody's been trying to hide information from me or anything. So I feel like I got a really good support staff for picking up left field.
Okay, I'll get you out of here on this. You played with Justin Crawford pretty much at every level of the minor leagues. We've all heard about his bat to ball skills. His speed is obvious. If you've watched him on the backfields in spring training, you can see that. What's the scouting report on him as someone who's been around him here these last couple of years? And,
Yeah.
what's the advice for a guy like that when he does get here, whenever that time comes?
Yeah, I think for him, he's just a gamer. He plays the game the right way. He hustles all at all times. His speed plays, his bat to ball plays. He knows that it doesn't have to look pretty. If you get the job done, you get the job done. So he's the guy that one knows how to compete every day, knows how to show up every day. But he's also incredibly humble too. So scouting report on him is just put the ball in play. Honestly, he's a guy that you just he puts the ball in play and runs. So it's pretty game changing speed. He's getting better at running the base pass. He's getting better at patrolling center field too. So I'm excited to see him get a little bit stronger, put a little bit more pop in his bat. It just he's a special kid. So I'm excited to see how he develops. He's gonna be a really good player coming up. But yeah, he's a game changer. He's a grinder.
Yeah. Well, Otto, this was a lot of fun. I have to, like I said, I was watching you the other night come out, and I could tell what a moment that was for you to get that home run ball. And it's been really cool to see all these firsts for you this month, and excited to see you keep it going here as the season goes along. I know you get pulled in a ton of directions in the big leagues, and you're always available and always at your locker and giving of your time. And I want to thank you for that. and of course for spending some of that time here with us at Phillies Extra from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
I want to thank Otto Kemp again for sitting down with us this week. Let's move to our Reporter's Notebook segment, where we try to be as evergreen as possible on the show. But with baseball, a sport that plays a game almost every day, it isn't always easy. For example, before we record our next episode, the All-Star rosters will have been announced. But we also haven't really talked here about which Phillies have the best chance of being there in Atlanta for the All-Star game on July 15th. So even though we'll have our answer here soon, I did think it was worth taking a shot at making a few predictions, but really talking about the Phillies who have the best chance or the best argument, the best case to be in the All-Star game. We'll start with the easiest choice, which to me is Zach Wheeler. He shut out the Padres for 8 innings on Monday night to lower his ERA to 2.27. Here were his numbers in June: 31 innings, 20 hits, 42 strikeouts, 7 walks, 0.58 ERA. Wheeler grew up in Atlanta. He was actually born a few miles from the Braves' current ballpark. So I asked him the other day if it would mean something, a little extra to play in this particular All-Star game in his hometown. I wouldn't say that he shrugged, but he did acknowledge that the All-Star game is a cool opportunity anytime you get to participate. But he's been in the All-Star game before, and as he pointed out, he has pitched in Atlanta so often in his career. First with the Mets and now with the Phillies for these last 6 years. He's started playoff games in Atlanta, so it's not like he's never pitched before his family and friends. But Wheeler has been so good this season that I wonder if he might get a chance to actually start the All-Star game for the National League. He thinks Paul Skeens from the Pirates has the inside track. I suspect if Wheeler lines up correctly, depending on when he pitches right before the break, that Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, is going to consider Wheeler. And if that happens, well, that would make it even more special for him. I suspect Kyle Schwarber will be there too. He leads the Phillies in home runs. He has 25 at the time of this recording, and who knows how many more by the time the week is over. I asked him the other day if he's been approached about competing in the home run derby. He said not yet. He's done it twice before, in 2018 in Washington and 2022 in Los Angeles. Would he do it again? Well, he's not sure, but he said he wouldn't rule it out. We'll see. Otherwise, I think you could make a strong argument for Trey Turner, although shortstop is a loaded position in the National League. Francisco Lindor of the Mets, Mookie Betts of the Dodgers, the Reds, Ellie De La Cruz, C.J. Abrams of the Nationals, Geraldo Perdomo of the Diamondbacks. They're all having terrific years. I don't think Wheeler will be alone among Phillies starting pitchers in the All-Star game, whether they're chosen initially or whether they replace pitchers who are unable to play. I think Christopher Sanchez and even Ranger Suarez have a chance to be there along with Wheeler. Speaking of the Phillies rotation, that brings me to my second point. We already gave you Wheeler's numbers in June, notably that 0.58 ERA. Check out what a few of the other Phillies starters did in June. Ranger Suarez, 1.30 ERA in 41 2/3 innings over 6 starts. Christopher Sanchez, 1.85 ERA in 34 innings over 5 starts. Even Jesus Luzardo, if you throw out his first start of the month, which was a dud in Toronto, he had a 2.78 ERA in his last 4 starts. Now, the Phillies went only 14-13 in June, which means they wasted some terrific starting pitching. But I've said it before, and it bears repeating. The starters are the biggest reason to be bullish about the Phillies. I was thinking about this the other day, and I want to put this question out there. Would you rather be the Phillies right now or the Dodgers? I'm not sure you wouldn't rather be the Phillies, just because I think their rotation, top to bottom, is the best in baseball. Sure, they need to bolster the bullpen before the trade deadline, probably pick up another bat, but that rotation is going to keep them in almost every game they play. And they should get reinforcements back too when Aaron Nola comes off the injured list in the second half and Andrew Painter finally makes his long-awaited Major League debut. I don't see that there's another team out there that has that kind of depth and talent in their starting rotation. Let's move to our last segment. We call this Hit and Run, where we take a question from you, a listener or a viewer. And this is a perfect time to mention that you can submit a question by email at slauber@inquirer.com or by finding me on the social media platform of your choice, X, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, even LinkedIn. I'm on all of them, so feel free to hit me up with a question or a comment. This week's question comes from @CBS970 on X, who asks, how are the Phillies going to address the rapidly aging roster? The main players are over 30, many 32 or 33 next year. It doesn't look like they can remain competitive more than another year. That alone makes me think Schwarber will sign elsewhere. Thanks to @CBS970 for the question. So this has definitely been a storyline for the Phillies since spring training even started. It's about the proverbial window, right? How long can the window stay open? And when you ask Phillies people, especially Dave Dombrowski, they reject the idea that there is a finite amount of time, that there is a window. Maybe for the specific core of players, because, after keeping them together for 3-4 years, which in this day and age is rare that a team even stays together this long, there are a few key players who are coming up on free agency. Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, and Ranger Suarez chief among them. So yeah, maybe the window for this specific group is nearing an end. But if the Phillies do their jobs right, from the scouts to the player development staff to the front office to the major league coaching staff, they can keep the window open by bringing the next wave of young players into the fold. That's why they've been so protective of Andrew Painter and Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford specifically, because they get calls on those guys all the time about potential trades. But so far, they haven't moved any of them because they know that those three especially, and there are others, could be important pieces to keeping the window open longer than just the rest of this year. Otto Kemp was just our guest on the show, right? I mean, they could have traded him in the past. Instead, they held on to him. And look, they need him a lot right now to help fill in for Bryce Harper. And now that Bryce Harper's back, to go out to left field and be a part of the solution out there. That's the challenge, right? How do you stay competitive and keep it sustainable? It's why the Dodgers are the model franchise in the sport, right? Because they've managed to compete every single year for the last 10 or 12 years. Some of the names have changed, and obviously they have huge financial resources to go do big things like signing Shohei Ohtani or trading for Mookie Betts and signing him to an extension. But they've also made a lot of really good decisions along the way. To me, the Phillies window, so to speak, isn't closing for at least another 2 years. That's how long Zach Wheeler has left on his contract. He'll be 37 after the 2027 season, and he says he's not going to play beyond that. Now, maybe he'll change his mind, maybe not. Either way, I think the Phillies have 3 more shots this year, next, and the year after that to win it all with their best pitcher in Wheeler, plus Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Christopher Sanchez, Aaron Nola. By that time, Painter, and probably the other kids too, who knows, maybe even Schwarber will come back or maybe Realmuto. But I definitely think that they'll have to transition to the next phase of this core after this year while staying in contention to win it all. And that isn't always an easy needle for teams to thread. Okay, let's leave it there for this week and tell you that every episode of Phillies Extra is available at Inquirer.com, the Inquirer's YouTube channel, and on Facebook. You can also listen to this episode and other recent episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please give us a follow and rate and review us. It really does help. Thanks again to my guest, Phillies rookie infielder Otto Kemp. And thanks, as always, to our producer, Angelica Irizarry, who steps up to the plate each week to keep us sounding good and helps us put this whole thing together. Until next week, I'm Scott Lauber. Have a great 4th of July. Thanks to everyone for listening, watching, and, of course, for reading the Philadelphia Inquirer.